Hello, welcome to Footy Corner TV. This is Prem Focus. Welcome in. If you're in here, please make sure you're hitting the like and the subscribe buttons. If you're watching on Twitter, make sure you come through to YouTube and hit the like on YouTube. Don't care if you go back to Twitter. It just helps us out. I'll get it out there. So yeah, but welcome in everybody. We've got El Smugger with us again. How are we, sir?
Yep, not bad, mate. Thank you very much. All
yeah.
good.
Good weekend.
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad.
We've had one, haven't we?
A winning weekend, and Liverpool, Chelsea, and Man City lost. So
definitely. Dom, how are we doing, sir?
Very well. As El Smago says, good weekend when they all lose. It's a shame Everton couldn't do us a favour as well, but you can't have everything in life.
No, you can't have everything. But yeah, it's a bit of a weird one with Everton, actually, isn't it? Because they looked like they were starting to get some kind of form together, but yeah, not seem to materialise at all, is it?
No, I mean, you know, it was one of those games that could go either way, but I didn't see him getting a tonking. I mean, the game, you know, the stats gate, so the game was a bit closer, but, you know, from the bits I saw of the game, it never looked like Spurs were losing that, to be fair, which is really annoying.
Yeah, definitely looked quite an easy kind of jump for them, and there were some tasty tackles in that, actually. What looked like I've seen on some of the highlights. One of the ones that basically did a bit of a scissor movement in at the back, and it was like questionable whether that should be dealt with, but there we go. It was a bit of a weird one. But yeah, I didn't think that that Everton Spurs was going to be that kind of entertaining game. Did you, Smago?
No, I thought it'd be a draw, to be fair.
Yeah.
Quite surprised that Everton got rolled over in the way it did. I don't think the goal should have been disallowed, personally.
That was for interference, offside. Yeah.
I don't think he did enough to be interfering. I think the keeper should have done much better. So I think they got really lucky with that. But good result for him, I guess. Shame they can't do it at home.
Is it just 3 wins or something at home in the last 19 or something?
Yeah, in the whole of last season and this season, 3 wins they've got home.
Wow. Don't surprise me. It's
absolute madness, isn't it?
Well, one of Wolves' 2 points is from there, wasn't it? They should have got 3 points there, Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they pulled it back right at the end, didn't they, with that Paulinia effort? But
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was definitely. They don't do them any favours anyway, do they? Wolves. They always seem to turn up against Spurs and then kind of get it going. But yeah. Yeah, a bit of an odd one. How it always seems to happen. Wolves beat or take points off Spurs as well.
Yeah.
I mean, all teams tend to have those sort of teams, don't they? I mean, I remember growing up, it was always Wimbledon. I hated going to Highbury to watch us play Wimbledon because you could guarantee we'd lose every time. Love going to Selhurst Park where they played at the time, where you can guarantee Arsenal would win there. But it's a bit like West Ham in recent years, isn't it?
Well, St Mary's, isn't it? Whenever we went to St Mary's, you always seem to either get turned over or just about grab a draw. Until we got like through a cup game, and then it all kind of turned around. But yeah, it's very, very similar with them. But yeah. And
I wouldn't say long may it continue, but Wolves look like they're going down.
They struggle, don't they? Yeah, I haven't actually. They are slot straight at the bottom, aren't they?
Yeah, they're the only team not to have won so far in the top 9 divisions, I think it is, in English football.
Yeah, I mean, there's a 6-pointer there next week anyway, isn't there? Because they're playing Fulham. And Fulham is 17th at the minute. That's a proper 6-pointer, that.
I'm not sure it's quite as close between the two as it appears, but I mean, obviously the table, that is where they are on the table. I meant in terms of the ability of the two sides. You'd expect Wolves Fulham to win that one.
Well, you say that, but if they win it, they're only 3 points difference.
Yeah, sorry, I meant the quality of the two sides rather than.
I know what you're saying, but I don't think they're necessarily pulling any trees up. Fulham have lost their last 4.
Yeah, they're on poor form, to be fair.
So yeah, They only supersede Forest by the win in the 5th game. So, yeah. Well, there we go. I'll say hello to Pete. How are we, sir? Welcome in. Nice to see you. And Khalid, welcome in, mate. Nice to see you. Let's have a look at the Palace game then. What were your actual thoughts on the lineup? Were there any surprises?
No, not really. I think the team pretty much picked itself, didn't it? Like after the Fulham win, I knew it was obvious Trossard would be given the left wing again. I think he's played the last 4 to 5 Premier League games out there. So I don't think there was no surprises in the lineups whatsoever. And I think it was always, for me, this was always going to be a bit of a tricky game anyway. Like, we're playing a team that have obviously just come off a 19-game unbeaten streak until they got beaten by Everton. So, and obviously they've won the FA Cup and they won a Community Shield. So they're going to be confident in their ability. They've beaten some big clubs as well on the way. Obviously Liverpool in the Charity Shield, Liverpool in the league, Man City in the FA Cup final. So it was going to be a hard game and a tricky game, and that's what it become, really, in my opinion. I thought Crystal Palace were really, really well coached, if I'm being totally honest, and I was quite impressed with them in a lot of ways. I was quite impressed with, obviously, the way they contained us, especially in the first half, for quite a period of time. I thought they looked more dangerous than us going into about the half-hour mark on the counter-attack. I was really impressed with their centre back. Is it Lacroix? Something like that?
Lacroix,
yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's really rapid, isn't he?
Him and Gorkarez.
Yeah.
But look, we had that little bit of magic, didn't we? Obviously, Eze scored against his former club. And leading up to that goal, I thought Eze was having a really poor game.
Yeah,
giving the ball away. And yeah, it was just one of them games, weren't it? Just get over the line, because Man City were losing at Aston Villa. Liverpool had already lost. The most important thing was to get 3 points.
Yeah, it's got to be a case of we take care of ourselves, forget what everybody else is doing, just get the 3 points in the bag. But yeah, it was a tough watch, wasn't it, for the first half, Dom?
Arsenal very sloppy. You see it quite often in games after European nights, not just with Arsenal, but across the board. Obviously, both of these sides were coming off European football, which might well have helped Arsenal getting 2 days extra rest. But you wouldn't have believed it from the first half hour that Arsenal had 2 days extra rest. You know, Palace, definitely the better side. Didn't obviously challenge Arsenal's goal too much. I never felt Palace were going to score, despite the fact they had their first shot on target against us in a month. With that glancing header from
I'm not sure it's even on target, to be honest with you. I don't know how I think it's a bit of a fake stat.
It travelled about 2 inches, didn't it? Before Raya punched it away. I mean, completely mental, that one. But
didn't actually leave his head properly. To be honest, dude, they didn't even gain any momentum. So
I don't see
how they got that as a shot on target. I really don't know. It's just
not that it really matters, right? But
no, it doesn't matter. But it's just a bit weird. Some of the stats. I mean, even the goal that Eze scored and that Zubimendi scored when I can't remember who it was against now. It was against Forest.
Yeah, he got 2, didn't he?
Yeah, and when they do the kicks off the third interference from a set piece, it's still considered a set piece goal. I'm not really. It never used to be. I'm sure it was like the first or second, and then it went to an out of play goal. So obviously there's played a bit into agendas and everything this week. So
but ultimately, like, who cares where the goals come from? A goal's a goal, and But I mean, Arsenal, like Arsenal says here, no surprise in the lineup. I'd have gone Martinelli, funny enough, on the left to start with, because Muniz, their right back, gets a long way forward and leaves space. But I thought Trossard had a relatively decent game, to be fair. And as Elsmago says, no surprise, he started 4 in a row, and he's going to probably start the next one at least, I'd have thought. He's probably going to start tomorrow because Martinelli's out. I'm sure we'll discuss it later. But definitely just want the 3 points, get it done, keep that momentum going. Arsenal did it, and it was relatively comfortable, even if it wasn't pretty.
No, I didn't really feel any kind of threat. It was just more we were a bit clumbersome when we a bit, there was no momentum really. It was kind of very stop and start, and a bit stick in the mud. So it was just like not exactly free flowing, was it? Just like...
Biggest threat at times was staying awake, to be fair. But
yeah, I mean, I think if you're watching it on TV, we'd probably be the same. But you stood in the ground trying to kind of motivate players as well.
Yeah, it's a big difference, isn't it?
Yeah, to be honest, trying to motivate some of that crowd is a bit a bit of a challenge at times. I mean, I know you're behind the goal, Liam, aren't you?
Yeah, it was a strange atmosphere all round. Like, I was speaking to my mates after, they're Palace fans, as you know.
Yeah,
I said to them, I was well surprised how quiet Palace fans were.
Yeah,
they've been notoriously known for their atmosphere, and even they were very subdued. And they said that they think it was a bit of a hangover from Thursday night.
Thursday.
You know what? I think as well. Yeah, right. It is really hard after you have a really top result in the Champions League, especially when you're at home. It is really hard to replicate that the next game round. And I'm sure we had the same when we beat Real Madrid. You know what I mean? I think there's a bit of a hangover with it. And there was definitely a hangover on Sunday, I think, from the team and obviously the fan base.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that at the moment it's pretty much, in my opinion, and I've said this, leading up to November's international break, for me, it's just getting over the line and winning the games. Once we get rid of the November break and actually the team will be together for 4 months without any international interferences, that's when I expect more like the performances to start picking up, a bit more consistency across the team. I do think these international breaks with players getting dragged all around the world does obviously affect the mojo of and the cohesion of the teams. But at the end of the day, it's 3 points, isn't it? 3 points, 3 points. We're sitting in a really good position. I am really confident this season because the squad's there. If we can get the players back after the international break, I think we'll start seeing a different Arsenal. Like, you're looking at players like Havertz. I think in that game against Crystal Palace, you could have done with Havertz in that game, especially pushing up alongside.
There's been a few games like that, though, hasn't there? That that you could have just took Gyökeres out and put Havertz in. Or even put Havertz in as well as Gyökeres.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
just to kind of hold it up, and then him doing that slide ball into Gyökeres rather than having to try and run to the touchline or trying to run inside and maybe take a swipe shot that Saka does on quite a few occasions. So it'd just be a big option for us, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And when you think about it, they have 3 centre-backs. So you got Gyökeres being occupied by all 3 of them. So he was going to live on scraps all day long, do you know what I mean? And there was, like you said, our creative players like Saka, who apparently wasn't well anyway. He was starved of any creativity on Sunday. So do you know what? We got over the line. You're going to get games like this over the season. It happens to every team over the season, and that was one of our games that we had where we weren't at full flow. We weren't good whatsoever, but we got 3 points, and that's the difference, mate. You think years ago, like over COVID, mate, we'd lost that game 3-0.
You don't have to go that far back. No. You don't have to go that far back. We'd at least, even 2 years ago, I think we draw that game. We probably it's either a 0-0 or they score in the last 5 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, but defensively, which is just unbelievable. When you see that, I put a big shout out to Mascara. I thought when he came on second half, I thought he was brilliant. Honestly,
not for the first time either.
No, and he let's be honest, he had that one mistake, didn't he? Was it I can't remember.
It was Newcastle, and it was a slight mishit that went for a corner that happens probably 5. If you play 38 games a season, you'll probably do that 3, 4, 5 times a season, but no one notices it just because it went to a goal.
Exactly.
I like that when that happened. I like that he took him out of the spotlight, and basically nobody could build it up and get on his back about it. So it just literally just went right. Okay, yeah, you've done that. I've took you out of the pressure pit. You'll go back in. Don't worry. Arm around him, whatever, and on you go. But I don't see any drop off, from Saliba.
I thought he was the better player over the 2 halves of Yusuf.
His style of play is so similar to Saliba, it's untrue. And I kind of saw that. When I knew we were getting him, I watched a few videos of him, and his style. I'll be honest, I didn't know much about him before that, but his style is so similar to Saliba, and he relies on that little bit of reading of the game, and then just takes off. It's very Saliba-esque. But I'd actually think
to bring it out too, isn't he?
Yeah, but I think he's slightly better in the air than Saliba, to be honest with you. I think he's got a little bit more in the air, because obviously we rely on Gabriel quite a lot in the air when it comes in that way. Saliba gets nudges but doesn't really, do anything aerially. But Mosquera did even in that game. So I thought he did really well. It was really good. You didn't really notice the difference, did you? You didn't notice Saliba had gone off, really?
No. I mean, I actually I was watching it at home, and I missed the first minute or so of the second half, and I hadn't actually clocked Saliba had gone off until about 8 or 9 minutes into the second half. That's how noticeable, or how good Mosquera is, right? If you don't notice that one of your top players in the team has gone off, and I don't think you can give him higher credit. I agree with you both on that one, and I also agree with you on Havertz as well. I think his ability to sort of bring players out might have been really effective, because you're seeing more and more teams drop in deep against us. Even City dropped in deep against us, which you rightly point out denies a space for the attacking players, especially Gyökeres, to operate in, makes it difficult for us to create chance for him. But Havertz's ability to sort of bring them out a little bit may well actually help create that space for players in behind.
Yeah.
So I think his return will be welcome. It will also give Gyökeres a bit of a break as well, and give him a few minutes off at some point soon. But and that's not to criticise Gyökeres.
No, he just needs a breather. He needs a break. I think he just needs a break. You can see pretty much that the pressure's mounting on him, and he probably just needs to get out of it for a minute and just sit on the touchline and watch things go by and not really have a care about it. And he doesn't want to see hat tricks going in by anybody. So you sat on the bench going, what am I doing wrong?
At our own footballing levels, we've all done it when someone comes in for you, like, please have a shocker. Everyone else play well so we win, but please have a shocker.
Yeah, take him off, boss. We're not having a hat trick there. Imagine that Marino comes on, whatever, does Bosch hat trick, bottom corner, left corner. That would be quite funny, to be fair. Who was your man of the match? Because I probably have a controversial one, to be honest.
Oh, man of the match. Oh, Jesus. Not really thought about it, to be fair.
I was hoping you were going to have an answer.
Yeah. You know what, right?
I'll help you out, because obviously, well, I'll tell you what I think. Might not be helping you out, but what I think, because I think Saka was off at the races, everything was kind of stopping with Timber. I think everything was going down the left a lot more than we normally have, and I think Trossard had a really good game.
Yeah. I thought second half he had a really good half, to be fair. Like, I think he seemed to get stronger and stronger. Tell you the one thing that frustrates me with Trossard, though, at times, and I think this is where he's got a good starting pace, isn't he? But when obviously he's not like a Madueke, for example, so he gets in front of his player, and then when you think, you're going to go direct, and then he just kind of checks back in. And
that's why I say is very similar to Eze, because Eze do the same thing.
Yeah, but it just, I don't know. It just kind of.
Do you find that frustrating, do you?
Yeah, it just frustrates me a little bit. I think sometimes I do wonder if it's a bit of lack of confidence. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes he should go more direct.
I don't think it is. I think that's just his game.
Yeah, well, I think I'd like to see him just like go a bit more direct.
Yeah,
and have a crack.
I see what you're saying, but I think he's actually waiting for his defender to do something, and he then decides whether he's going to go direct or go across him.
I wonder it's just he's lacks the pace and therefore lacks the confidence in going direct because he doesn't have the pace to get away. I wonder if that's in his head.
Yeah, I think
maybe.
it is in his head. And I think sometimes I do think that actually, if he believed in himself a little bit more, because let's be honest, he's one of our best finishers in the club. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think you're right. He does end up checking back, and then I think he waits, and then he ends up trying to obviously play someone else in. But there's been a couple of times, not just Sunday, for example, where he gets himself in a position, and I think, go on, carry on, and then he just kind of checks, and you're like, I think you can. Like, look at a goal against Liverpool. Was it last season or season before? Season before, in the last minute when he done his man, and then he
rolled it under his legs.
Yeah, so he can do it. Do you know what I mean? He can do it.
I mean, it's quite a lucky finish, in fairness, in that particular one. So
don't shoot, they don't score, innit? Like,
no, I know, but the keeper completely.
Yeah, he got a little bit of a deflection, didn't it? And he went through the goalkeeper's legs. But I like to see, to be honest, I really like to see Trossard score tomorrow. I'd like to see him get a few goals, maybe a run of goals, because I think we'll breed his confidence a little bit more. It's been quite interesting that Mikel has given him the confidence in terms of playing 5, 6, 7 games now. I don't think we think that was going to happen at the start of the season, if we're all totally being honest, but he obviously trusts him.
And it's going to happen more now anyway, with Martinelli being out. We don't know how long that is for. So he's kind of nailed that position for a minute anyway. Yeah,
I'd like to see him get a few goals just to boost up his confidence. But yeah, I thought he had a decent game. I was going to say, I thought like Declan Rice, isn't it? He covers every blade of grass. I thought he did that again. I thought Suleiman played pretty well. He got a little bit sloppy later on in the game.
Yeah, he did. He was a bit tired, wasn't he? I think.
Yeah, but yeah, do you know what? I couldn't argue if Trossard on Sunday, because I just think there wasn't an outstanding candidate on Sunday. I think it was.
It was difficult to pick somebody in particular. Yeah. But and Timber wasn't his usual flowing self purely because Saka wasn't necessarily his flowing self. He relies on him kind of making the space for it, doesn't it? And at times, because they're not having to mark Saka, they were literally all coming for Timber. So at times he's got like 4 players around him. So
it was hard, wasn't it, on Sunday? On that right hand side, to be fair, like that's the most quiet I've seen Saka in the first half.
It really is. I mean, I saw a lot of play down that left hand side, and it was just weird that he was like, we're so used to it being lopsided the other way, and it kind of just never happened.
Like, to be fair, like their fullbacks are pretty good though, aren't they? Like they play in a back 3 as well. They got, was it Tyrick Mitchell and Munoz? Munoz is very good.
Mitchell always plays really well against us, and that Munoz is no slouch either.
Yeah, terrific signing.
He
was the one I was worried about if we're coming forward. You know what I mean? Because he's made a bit.
They didn't really do that though, did they? They're just kind of maybe stuck in the mud and just kind of. They didn't really want to break up their 5.
Their 5 stages are 5. As I said, at the top, I thought Trossard played well, but I would have gone Martinelli because Munoz, generally speaking, gets forward quite a lot and needs a space, which is why I would have gone with Martinelli. Obviously, I think Mikel Arteta's assumption was what happened. I mean, he's obviously got a lot of faith in Trossard, and I understand it, although I prefer Trossard off the bench. I think he plays best in that when he comes off the bench because he doesn't tire. I think he does tire in games, which I think you were sort of referring to. But, they didn't even attempt to come out. We know Tyrick Mitchell sits in and keeps to the 4 to allow Munoz to go forward.
Exactly, yeah.
But that didn't happen at all.
But even the crowd gets forward.
Yeah, exactly. Tyrick Mitchell either keeps him as a 4 or offers that defensive, and as I say, one of those, but none of that on
none of it.
And you can understand why. Palace came for the point, and you can't blame them for that. But
no,
it does make it hard. But that's when you've got defenders playing deep, Trossard is almost a better option because he's got that clever little touch. Whereas Martinelli prefers that little bit of space, but. It is really interesting just how few teams are coming out to attack us. It really the only sides I think that have really done it this season have both been put to the sword as well, which were Leeds and Atletico did. And even they
only did that after he scored, though.
Exactly, I know exactly what I was just going to say.
Yeah,
you know, and they only did it late, and they didn't do it for the whole game. You know,
yeah.
So it is a catch-22, isn't it? Do you sit and hope for the point, or to nick something, which is, you know, I'm being slightly disingenuous here, is what City and Liverpool did, and I'm being slightly disingenuous there, but you know, or do you go and try and attack and risk being beaten? And it is a problem for teams, which is good news for Arsenal. The problem Arsenal got is at some point, you're going to not get the 3 points because you're not going to get that goal because it's incredibly difficult to break it down.
The thing is, though, that if they do that to everybody, I don't really care because everybody's got the same problem. Obviously, Sunderland did it to Chelsea as well.
Yep.
And yeah. I mean, what happened to Chelsea?
Brentford did it to Liverpool, although Brentford.
Yeah, what happened to Chelsea has happened to us so often.
Yeah.
You get suckered in and you try to go for a winner when you're 1-1. And I don't know what their centre backs were doing.
Not for the first time this season.
That was Tosin and Chalobah, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They were literally having a confab with the striker in the box and just like, okay, after you, sir. Put your foot in and get the ball out. Literally just boot it anywhere.
Smash it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just do a quick few of these messages we got quickly. Mr. Lucasanu, hello, you lovely lots. Hello, sir. How are we? Anthony Herbert, big up, lads. I hope you're well. I hope you are, sir, too. When your main title rival both lose, just win, don't worry how. Exactly, Pete. Exactly that. Moss has been great. Bar one mistake I noticed. What, in that game? Or are you talking about the Newcastle game?
I think he's about Newcastle.
Yeah.
Covered that. He's been seen less coming in though. Oh, seamless. Okay, yeah. Well, he has. Yeah, I think we've said that. We don't really see any drop off from Saliba and Mosquera, to be honest. And he can do the right back role as well, which is even better. Anthony Herbert, question: can you see Havertz coming back straight into the team?
No, not straight into the team. I think he'll come back. Like Arteta does bring players back. He'll probably come back in off the bench, have an impact, come on in games. And then I think once he's back to fitness, I think there's a really good opportunity then that he will get back in the team, if I'm being perfectly honest, because I think Arteta appreciates what he gives to the team. But I think there'll definitely be a point, especially when you get to December and January. And if we're still in the likes of the Carabao Cup, as we see last January, it was an absolute nightmare for us, where we played about 10 games in a month. The rotation will be key, won't it? So they'll all get their minutes. They'll all get loads of game time. I'm more than sure of that. I think once we get out of the Bayern Munich game in the Champions League, I think the probably next trickiest game is Milan away in January. So you'd like to think like Sparta Prague and that we should comfortably be winning them games. So I think the Bayern Munich game is pretty much the biggest game now, isn't it? Before the start of the year.
Yeah, I mean, You mentioned the Sparta Prague. Do you rotate for that, or do you
Slava Prague? It's Slava, isn't it?
It's Slava, yeah.
Yeah, Slava.
I hadn't actually noticed you got it wrong, but yeah, it's Slava.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's all good. But do you rotate for that, or do you just go all guns blazing?
No, I rotate for that.
Would you rotate for it?
Not fully rotate. Yeah. I'll rotate though, definitely. Like we got a big game at Sunderland at that weekend, 5:30 kickoff for 52,000 Mackems. Like second in the league at the moment. They're going to be chomping it, aren't they?
Granit Xhaka's going to be up for it.
Oh, he's 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but it was quite funny that they were doing the comps of Rice and Caicedo, and now the comps are Xhaka and Caicedo. It's so funny. Literally just gone. Yeah, you just been bossed by a 35-year-old.
But I mean, I agree with Liam on Slavia Prague. I think you want to make we'll discuss Brighton later, but I think the next 2 or 3 games you're going to need to rotate 3 or 4 at least every game. You look at it and go, well, Gyökeres needs a bit of a breather. Zubimendi needs a bit of a breather. Timber definitely needs a bit of a breather. That's just 3 of them. There'll be others as well. I mean, Arteta will have the medical data that we don't have, but you're going to want to do that, going into these games. But it also, when you've got such a big squad, you've got to give players minutes. You're not doing Rob Holding for Saliba anymore. I know I'm going back a bit, but to make my point, but
it's not that far. It's not as far as you think.
It's only 3 years ago, isn't it? But
it's really not as far as you think.
No, exactly. But you know what I mean.
That's our first. That's our first second place, isn't it? The first time we actually challenged, and we had him in the side. So it's not actually that far at all.
Yeah, it's 3
and
years ago.
When we dropped off, obviously Saliba to Rob Holding was the drop off, and arguably that's what the challenge is in the first place. You know what I mean? So it's a bit mad.
But that's no longer the case anymore. Probably your worst drop off in this side right now is probably Rice to Norgard, but actually Moreno is probably the backup to Rice anyway. If you're going with the same system, but that's nowhere near that level. So I don't fear rotation either. It will still be.
Yeah, I think Moreno can actually back up in multiple positions as well. So it's a bit different. I think that one, because obviously if you're backing up, if Moreno's backing up Rice in the 8, it's different to backing up Rice in the 6, isn't it?
I agree. I agree. I mean, Norgard is probably your 6th backup. Rice is probably the first.
Yeah.
I mean, but you're right on Moreno, because I think Moreno probably starts the next 2 games for me. I don't know which order, but one I think he probably gives Gyökeres a bit of a rest, and the other he gives Rice a bit of a rest. Now Arteta might not do that, but I think there's a doubt about Rice. I know Arteta said he's fit today, and he certainly didn't look in too much discomfort at all. He bounded off the sort of down the tunnel after the game, so I don't think he's going to be injured tomorrow. But obviously he did come off on Sunday. But they both need a bit of a breather. And does Moreno start 2 in a row? Possibly,
Yeah, possibly, yeah. Anthony says Smugger looks better in his bar.
I would feel better in my bar.
Yeah, I'd be a lot colder though. I assume.
Yeah, mate. No, this
one. It's
not.
It blows a bit of a gale out there at times. I tell you that for nothing.
Is it in your garden? Is it?
Yeah.
Right at the end of the garden, and we went round there once, and it was raining all day, and it's a bit blustery. It was a little bit cold.
Yeah, you want to build a big ballroom? Stop having to walk across the grass.
We did do a lot of burgers, though. It made us warm up a bit. It's Trimless, welcome in, Trimless. How are we, sir? Big up the panel, smash the likes. Exactly, smash those likes and subscribe, please. Appreciate you. And he said Marino is fantastic on the coach. Obviously, not a big fan.
I think I've said it before. I think his best position for us actually is in a false number 9 role. Best performances I've seen in players there. But against Slavia Prague, I would play him instead of Rice. I'd leave Rice on the bench. See if we can kind of just manage that game out with what we've got. Look, if we can't be going to Slavia Prague and beating them with even the likes of Norgard and Marino, then we've got an issue. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've got such a strong squad now. I think, like you said a minute ago, Dom, in terms of like Timber, that's probably a great game for Ben White to come in and obviously be rotated as well. So, yeah, there's a number of players that can be utilised in that Prague game, and I think like over the next week, I think a number of them players will get really good minutes against Brighton tomorrow and Prague next week,
and even a couple of them even against Burnley.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Obviously it's a must-win game, but you can probably rotate 1 or 2 out. I mean, you might have to with the injuries we picked up at the weekend, but there's no reason you shouldn't be fearing Burnley. You probably want to go slightly more physical, and on Moreno, look, you don't want to see Moreno starting too many games. He's your classic sort of squad player, isn't he? But but I think I always see him in that sort of, from that point of view, I've always sort of felt he was coming in to be a squad player, and that's kind of how I see him and judge him. I don't sort of I don't think about him as a starter, and I don't like the idea of starting and bench players, as it were. But I think he is one of those that is genuinely a bench player. Whereas you've got players like Eza or and others like Ben White, for instance, that you could go. You've no fear if they come in and start. There's not so much of a drop off, but there is a little bit with Moreno, but it's not massive.
Yeah, I mean, he turns a bit like a truck, to be fair to him, but that's
I think that's really unfair, Sparks. I've seen trucks turn much faster.
Jackknife trucks, but yeah, he does turn a little bit thing, and I do think that's probably why he actually works better as a false nine, because he doesn't have to. He just literally takes it on the half turn, just has to trudge a couple of steps or whack it first time, and he's there or thereabouts. So I think he's a bit harshly treated at times, but I do agree. I think he's more a utility player than he is a starter.
His biggest problem is, though, isn't it? Like, we could get another centre midfielder in and just utilise him in that false nine role. But the problem he's got Gulchrist and Havertz. Do you know what I mean? That'll be in front of him. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of him actually in centre midfield. To be honest, I think he's a good squad player to have. I think you're not going to get much better in terms of squad player than Mikel Merino. Being totally honest, and that's apparent because no one else has really got someone like him who you can bring on, and that he will have impacts in games like that. Look, he changed the game at Newcastle just with one header. So he is what he is, but do you know what? And when you look at it and what he offers and what he gives, and it seems like he's happy just to be in that kind of structure.
A bit like a Kovacic or that kind of player, but maybe a little bit further down the pecking order than Kovacic.
Yeah, he's just that player, isn't he? That bring him on 20, 25 minutes go.
Yeah.
Because he can pop up in different areas.
Yeah, but it doesn't do anything fancy, just kind of mauls along really with everything else that's kind of going on. Doesn't really create that much, does he? He's just he's just there.
The right place at the right time.
Yeah, he's the type of player that can either do something by being battering around, a bit like Manchester United have used Harry Maguire. I know he's a central defender, not a central midfielder, but
they use him as a striker as well. They use him very similar. When they're struggling, they use him very similar to Merino, actually, don't they? Because they put him on the edge of the box.
Yeah, but you can also use him just to help solidify things in the midfield if you're trying to see the game out. And he's the type of player that you want in a squad from the point of view of he knows he's not going to start, he's not going to cause you any problems, but when he comes on, he doesn't change the game. You're going to get a 6, 7 out of 10, and you do need 2 or 3 players in a squad like that because they give you the numbers without causing you an issue. You can't have 11 world-class players not playing every week and not starting every week. You kind of need to know that's where the balance of the squad comes in, and that's where he sits in. I think probably in 2 years' time he's probably not at Arsenal, but for the time being he's a useful player. He's not someone that you're ever going to get excited about watching, are you? No,
not really. No. He's like I said, it is very sluggish, isn't it? And just I mean that finish that he put in against Real Madrid though. That was it was a pretty decent finish, to be fair.
He can shoot, bless him.
Yeah. That's the thing. He's got that knack, didn't he? That he can score goals. Like I think the longer term, like on that left hand side of the free, like you're looking at Lewis Skelly, aren't you?
Yeah.
Being totally on the shot. Like I think that's the player.
That's where we're working towards, I think, aren't we? With the Nkapie and whatever. But obviously, he's come in with some kind of injury. I think it's just fatigue, isn't it? Because a fatigue injury because the training schedule's a lot harder than he was doing.
I think that's spot on. You see it quite often with players with the intensity goes up, the physicality gets up, and they get those little niggles. But it'd be interesting tomorrow on Miles Lewis Skelly whether Nkapie plays at left back or Miles Lewis Skelly plays, and if it's Nkapie, whether Miles Lewis Skelly does play in midfield. I don't expect to see it, but it'll be interesting to see what happens in that.
Yeah, I expect Nkapie to play centre back, Skelly left back, personally.
Nkapie play centre back.
Yeah.
Okay.
If Nkapie starts, I think that's probably where he starts. I think Miles Lewis Skelly will start at left back.
Yeah.
But for me though, I mean, with Saliba definitely out, this is a difficult one really because Gabriel is probably also in need of a bit of a rest, and he's had a little bit of a niggle recently. If you've got Saliba back on Saturday, is it Saturday we play or is it Sunday this week? I can't remember. It is. I knew I shouldn't have hedged. I knew it was bloody Saturday, and then I doubted myself when I was talking. But if Saliba's back Saturday, then I wonder whether you go Gabriel, because you could be making 3 changes to back 4 tomorrow. Plus, you're probably going to change the keeper just for a bit of consistency in there, because it's really important to have that. And then you switch that on Saturday, and then you go Hincapié, Saliba, you go Mascara, Gabriel tomorrow night. But again, it will depend on Saliba's, long term. But I wonder where that is. But if Saliba's definitely not fit for the weekend, then I think you go. Then you might switch in Gabriel for Hincapié tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it might be Calafiori, the other centre back. I think Calafiori might be in there, because I don't think since he's got back over his injury, he hasn't had any game time at all, has he? Hincapié.
He came on at the weekend.
How long did he get?
15, 20 minutes.
Oh, maybe then. I missed that completely.
He came on for Calafiori, didn't he?
Okay. Yeah, missed that completely. Yeah. I know that somebody sat near me said Norgard was coming on. I was like, hey. So, no, he ain't. Definitely not that one. But yeah. So if you go in the whole team, who are you rotating out then? You obviously rotating either Zubimendi or Rice. Which one are you taking out?
I'm rotating both, mate, to be honest, tomorrow night.
You're taking both of them out.
So I think
Norgard, Marino.
Yeah, I think we'll start with Kepa in goal. Rice, Ben White, Lewis Skelly, Mascara, Hincapié, Norgard, one area, Marino.
Okay.
And then I reckon up top it's going to be the interesting one now because of the injuries. So I was wondering if he might play Martinelli or Trossard up top tomorrow night and rest Gallcrest. But actually now I think Gallcrest might have to start this game because actually the options are slim. And then obviously Trossard on the left. And then potentially I'd like to see Max Dowman on the right, if I'm being totally honest. Whether he goes for that, or he might think, do you know what, Saka's still coming back to full fitness. He might give Saka 60 minutes and then bring Max on for the last 30. That's probably more the Arteta thing I could see him doing. But I think Gallcrest now has to pretty much start this game because actually, unless he decides to play Declan Rice or Zubimendi and put Marino up top, I think Gallcrest does have to start now.
Yeah, I still think he plays one of them. I don't think he drops. I don't think he drops both, purely because we've got other games coming up where we can rotate anyway. So he can drop one of them. So he can drop Zubimendi and Rice can go in. Marino goes in, and then probably Eza. And one area is probably
there's Eza as well, isn't there?
Yeah. So I mean, actually, you could do one area on the right. And if you're resting Saka, you can do one area on the right and Trossard on the left. I
think if he did play Eze tomorrow night, I think one area starts on the right. Whatever happens tomorrow night, he has to play.
Yeah, I think he has to. Yeah.
Minutes tomorrow.
I've got a slightly different lineup for you.
Go on then.
So I think the back four will be fairly similar, but I think Gabriel might start at the left centre half instead of Hincapié. And then in midfield, I'd start Zubimendi for this one. He's going to miss the Slavia Prague game for definite. But I think you can probably miss him v Burnley as well and give him a proper week's rest. But I think against Brighton, his ability to play through the lines is going to be crucial. Whereas I think it's going to be less crucial potentially against Burnley. And then I think it will be one of Moreno or Norgard alongside him with Rice giving a rest because I think you want Rice more against Burnley. And then I have Nwaneri starting in the Odegaard role. I have Saka starting on the right because I think you want some kind of sort of spine to the team. I know he plays wide, but you want some of your top players playing. I think that Gyökeres will play up front on tomorrow. And then I think it will be Trossard or Eza on the left because I don't think there's a chance that Martinelli's going to be fit for Burnley. And I think I think one of them starts for 60, 65 minutes and then the other comes on. I think something like that. Now, I might have said something different on the podcast yesterday because I can't bloody remember what team I picked. But that's going to be roughly
it's standard. Right. It's standard. We won't bet it, don't worry.
Yeah, one's a great shout on the left, to be fair, because I think it's like the Trossard thing would make sense because if he's going to play him Saturday on the left, I think it makes sense for Trossard to start on the bench and potentially Trossard could come on for Gallcrest as well. I think it might make sense that Eze does start out on the left tomorrow.
Yeah, I
also
think
Moreno to come on for Gyökeres as well if you need to. You've got options then, haven't you?
Yeah.
Depending on how the game's going.
yeah, or for Rice or whatever. But I think Zubimendi's a bit more instrumental for the weekend because obviously if they're going to go with the block, which they probably will, even at home.
I go 2-10s for that though, for Burnley. I try and do it that way. I'd have Rice in the 6 probably for Burnley, playing single pivot, and then I'd go 2-10s to try and unlock it that way.
What with you've got so you got Eze and Waneri?
Yeah. I'd also, by the way, tomorrow bring on Dowman for Saka. At some point.
Yeah, I mean, Dowman's got to get some time, hasn't he? Really? I mean, he's not picked in the under-21 squad.
Yeah, nor's Marley Salmon.
Salmon is not either as well. So yeah.
What I'll say is quite clever at though. He'll finish off with the strongest team tomorrow. In these kind of games, that's what he does. He finishes off with a really strong team.
But do you think he starts with the younger players first then?
I personally think he'll start with a team. Now, it will be readily good, but I think I've seen this before in cup games. He finishes with a really, really strong team to see the game out. So it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if just say, for example, Gabriel was on the bench. It wouldn't surprise me if he come on 20 minutes in the end. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't surprise me if Declan Rice comes on for the last 20 minutes. And I do agree with Saka 100%. I think he will start because I think actually he will start and then Max Dowman will come on. I think that'd be the only difference. But
that's the main. Yeah.
I think he'll try in Arteta's mind a lot of the time is that how am I going to finish the game as well? So
I think it is, and also, but I think also the reason I sort of think there'll be less changes than we necessarily think is because I think he's taking this competition genuinely seriously. I think this could be a genuine springboard to success if you can win this competition. This season, it gives that sort of fear's the wrong word, but that sort of any doubts that the players have about how to get over the line and take off the pressure. I really do, and he's gone stronger than people think countless times before, and I think he will again, even though there's more. I think there's genuinely more trust he has in this side than he has in previous squads. I still think he'll go relatively strong, and Brighton are no mugs.
Yeah, I was asked this question earlier on. Actually, I was watching another podcast, and I know the guy quite well, and he asked a question. He basically said, if it was up to you, and you could obviously win the league, but if you win a cup alongside it, would you take the League Cup or the FA Cup?
I'll take the League Cup because I want to. Do you know, it's a weird question you say that. I'll take the League Cup, and I totally agree with what you've just said. Like, we need to take the pressure off the back straight away. We need to shut the doubters up straight away. If we win a trophy in February, that will bring a lot of confidence into the team. They'll taste the success, and then I think that will support in driving that through for the rest of the season, and it will take the pressure away. Where if we don't win the League Cup, there's going to be this bottle tag all the way up till we see it
to the last game of the last week of the season.
Yeah,
from both rival fans and our own fans.
Yeah, I'm for sure. Yeah, and I completely agree with what you said, Dom. I absolutely agree that it's a springboard. And if you can win it, then I'd choose to win that over the FA Cup purely because it's that obviously the fixture congestion anyway of the FA Cup getting towards the business end. If we've won the League Cup and we're well on track, I'm not saying that we are going to win. I freaking hope we're going to win it, but I just think that the League Cup can be that catalyst that basically gets us over the line in the actual league, and it just install a belief, get a lot of pressure off the players' shoulders as well, and I just think
I'll go back to 2011 when we lost to Birmingham.
Please don't.
No, but you saw. I mean, in the most Arsenal way ever. But it had the opposite effect, right? And but you see time and time again, sides win it, and it actually be a catalyst for their season. But sides that don't win it, it can have the opposite effect. And the pressure really is on. The noise is massive internally and externally to the club. And that for me is what makes it so important. That and it's been 30 years since we last won it. It's a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was 8, I think, last time we won it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really one of those important trophies as such, is it? But it's. I just think that this particular season, I think it'd do us all a favour if we can get that one over the line.
Yeah. I think if we won the Premier League or Champions League this season, just for argument's sake, and you ask this question in 12 months' time, we'd all pick the FA Cup. But this season, it's definitely the League Cup.
I completely agree. I mean, it's just like obviously, if we win a Champions League ever, then the Premier League takes priority every single time. But because we've never won a Champions League, it's up in the air whether people would choose the Premier League or the Champions League. Every other time, everybody would pick the Premier League.
It might work in our favour a little bit tomorrow, having a couple of players out. It might force Arteta to play that stronger team as such. Like, I think Brighton's a banana skin. Do you know what I mean? Look, we know what they're like. We know they're capable of beating teams. We've been on the back of them beating us quite a few times at the Emirates. So, like you say, it's not going to be an easy game, and we're going to need to be at it to win it. I think this is quite a tricky game, but I think we got a good enough team to win it. And I think actually, we should be looking at that milestone in February, hopefully after tomorrow, and thinking actually we want to get there. Because look, last year was a bit embarrassing when we played Newcastle in the semi-final. Exactly. It was awful home and away. Both games were absolutely awful. And I like to think that the team and the club will want to make some wrongs right there, because they seem to get off on that in a moment, making the wrongs right and broadcasting it as such. So I think for me, for them to go one step further, and look, we ain't won that cup trophy for 32 years. That's not good enough for a club like Arsenal Football Club. And if it's good enough for Pep Guardiola to win it 4 years in a row, it's good enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a lot of the time, certainly under Wenger, the 20 odd years or whatever, he treated it as a youth trophy anyway, and everybody else did until the money bags came in, didn't they? So it's only like the last 10, 12 years that the teams have actually took it that seriously, because they have got the big enough squad to literally rotate, and they've got players begging to play that they're trying to keep happy, so that they have to play the bigger players. They can't play the kids, can they?
No, it's like I didn't like really treating it like that anyway, but it was the way the club was moulded at the time, weren't it? And a lot of that was down to the restrictions that we had in terms of buying players, and that's what we had to do to get players to where they needed to get to. So I totally got it. But I think nowadays it's like, I believe that this club's now, the mentality is, and it should be, we want to compete and win every trophy that we're in. And I know we haven't done that yet, but this season we've got a bloody good chance to do that. So for me, a springboard is getting to that final in February and seeing that first trophy into the club. And then obviously we take it from there. But we could definitely got the squad. We definitely got the manager. So I can't see why we can't do it. But we do need to get over the line tomorrow night. And it ain't an easy game. And we're going to need to be at our best to beat them.
I agree entirely with that. It's been my position for a couple of years. It's been building towards this. But Brighton, as you rightly point out, are a real difficult game for us. The way they are set up worked perfectly for playing sides like us, like Manchester City, and they beat sides like us quite consistently. So, it's not, people are going to go, well, they're a mid-table side, aren't they? I don't think it's going to be as easy as people think it is. And I think Brighton will go strong tomorrow. The good news is, though, if Ben White starts tomorrow, Mitoma's out, because he always gives him a hard game.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Well, the other thing, though, at least they're not going to park the bus. We know that they're not going to low blockers. They actually play football for the most part, at least, anyway. So if it's ever time to put the doubt away that we can score in open play or whatever, then tomorrow's the night, isn't it?
We can but hope. Because if we don't, you know what the narrative's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care, but I mean, just
I don't either.
From that point of view,
I do care because it irritates me.
Yeah, I do care as well. Actually,
but you know what I mean. You know, I know it's a false narrative, but it irritates me. But you know, but yeah, it's highly unlikely Brighton come and park the bus, as you say. But you know, we didn't think Manchester City were going to come and do it, and they did. So you know, we never know. But he seems to be quite a principled manager as well, and you know. And he does tend to stick to.
Herzler is a weird one because he's made that side a lot more physical than it ever was. So, you know, they've got that nasty streak where they didn't have that before. So he's added that instead of the park the bus kind of thing. But he was mentioning earlier on that that he was working on the set piece thing, but it's not there yet. Yeah, so yeah, watch his space for tomorrow because you know, obviously he's been working on it. So
it's quite ironic though, isn't it, that everyone's sitting there saying we're struggling to score goals, but our results this year at home are 5-0, 4-0, 3-0, 2-0, 1-0, and 1-1.
Mad, isn't
it? We're not struggling to score goals at all, as you rightly point out. It's completely mental. It's genuinely insane, the narrative, you know, and it also takes no account of how teams are playing, which is let's put 9 men behind the ball consistently.
Yeah,
and the other thing is as well, there's so much more you can control from a set piece than there is an open play anyway. So obviously, you know, you play in a 5-back, you can have 4 players on Saka, on Timber, whatever, stopping the ball getting through. They can't do that from a set piece. They do that from a set piece, you're going to score every time anyway. So there's so much more that you can actually control because the first one is the delivery, isn't it? You know, the second one is the offside line. Well, if it comes from recorded, there is no offside line, so who gives a crap?
I don't know if it's what you would have been watching on Sunday, but it was ridiculous how good. I know there was one really bad, not good set piece, but how ridiculously good Declan Rice's set piece are. But
yeah,
we just seem to bully teams in the air, don't we? Like you look at teams that are physically tall and physically strong, but we just seem to
units, aren't they?
Yeah, we just seem to overload it still. Like we could have at least scored another 2 goals from set pieces against Palace. Like I think
I think we could have scored at least one more.
And then Gabriel, did he hit the post? Didn't he?
Yeah,
something.
Well, didn't we hit the post and the crossbar?
Oh, we
hit the crossbar. Yeah, I don't remember hitting the post apart from Gabriel literally running into the post.
That's what I remember.
Oh no, he ran into the post, didn't he? Yeah, so that's. I mean,
the ball did hit the post, but not necessarily the match ball.
Yes, yeah, I think that was double whammy that one, definitely. But yeah.
It saw plums the next morning, I believe.
Yes, I bet. Yeah, it's definitely not nice, that one. But he's a big guy. I'm sure he can handle himself.
Well, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I was brushing over that. Right, we're going for score prediction tomorrow night then.
3-1 Arsenal.
I'm going to have to be consistent with what I said last night, which was 1-1 and we lose on penalties. I really hope I'm wrong, but it's the first time this season I predicted us not to win. So and I'm not good at predictions, so fingers crossed.
Oh, God. I need to get used to not predicting us to concede because, I always seem to predict us to concede and we never do. So, or maybe it's going to work the other way, actually.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with the 3-1 as well, because if I don't predict us to concede, then we'll concede. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, at some point we're going to have to concede, but we're
never going to concede. No, so it's never. So we'll win it without conceding another goal. How's that?
Could you imagine, in all seriousness, if we got to May, and I'm just talking Premier League game, and we conceded 3 goals in 38? Could you imagine that?
Yeah, that is crazy.
I mean, it's not going to happen, obviously, but that would be insane.
Absolutely insane, but it would rattle a few people. Anthony's gone 2-1 to Arsenal.
I think it's insane. Just 3 goals in 13 games.
Yeah, Ben White should start. He should start. Yeah, you're right. I think we're all on that page. Yeah, it's isn't it a bit mad? 3 goals in. And we haven't conceded in Champions League either, have we?
No one seems to even look like scoring. That's the thing. Like I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking, like, don't get me wrong, I think Brighton's a totally different game. We're rotating most of the squad, so we could potentially concede in that game. But you look at Burnley, and I'm struggling to see where they're going to get shots in at the moment. Do you know what I mean? If we play like we have done, and then
didn't Port Vale get the closest? Because they had like 1 or 2.
Yeah, again, it's us rotating the squad, isn't it? Like, when we play this first 11.
Yeah.
With this defence.
Close to it.
Like, even Manchester City, didn't they just have that Haaland shot and that was it?
Yeah, counter-attack. It's not even considered an open play goal, apparently. Because counter-attack goals don't count as open play. I don't know why.
It's very strange. Yeah, I don't agree with that.
The last time we conceded was at Newcastle.
Yeah, from a set piece.
And that's the kind of goal we always kind of concede at Newcastle.
So we conceded a set piece against Liverpool, a set piece against Newcastle.
And a counter versus City.
And a counter versus City. That's it.
So we've only conceded 1 goal, haven't we? Because set pieces don't count. We've been told.
Yeah, set pieces definitely don't count. Counter attacks don't count either, apparently. So we haven't conceded any.
Are there ever any goals in the Premier League?
Never, not against us. None of them count. None of them count at all. Right.
It is insane how good that defence is.
Yeah,
though. It really is. I love it. I love it. Genuinely.
Absolutely mad. And yeah, if we don't concede another goal all season, that'd just be. I mean, I'm not bothered about that record that Chelsea have, but I remember being in the stands when they came to Emirates for that 0-0 and celebrated like they won the league, and they won the league. Do you know what I mean? So it's like that. It was mad.
What was the season 91? That was 18 goals, wasn't it?
I don't know.
It was low for sure. I couldn't give you a total off the top of my head.
I don't know. I haven't looked into it.
Yeah, I'm sure it was 18. Like you think even 18 goals, like in 38 games, like
it's mad.
Absolute madness, isn't it?
Under a goal every 2 games.
It's every game according to some, though.
The only time we look like we're going to concede is when David Rare comes steaming out and has a bit of a.
What was that about? It was like, oh yeah, we haven't conceded enough goals, so I'm just going to go over here and give him the hand.
you know what it was? He was having a protest because his work from home request had been denied.
Yeah. Oh, just mad. Yeah, his remote terminal was broken. But I don't know what he was doing. He literally went in for a slide and whatever, and he's going. This is going out for a throw-in, mate. You're not stopping the throw-in. Don't do that. That's not going to help you, Tally. It's not going to help you at all. Just a quick update. Grimsby have lost to Brentford 5-0.
Nelson had a goal and assist last time I looked.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, but I haven't looked at the thing. Wycombe Wanderers against Fulham is 1-1. Wrexham are losing now to Cardiff 2-1.
That's the kind of game you'll want the next round, isn't it?
Cardiff? Cardiff will do, won't it?
Yeah, that would do me.
Yeah, even away, I'll be all right with the Cardiff away. I'll be all right with that.
Lovely city, Cardiff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Swansea. I wouldn't mind Swansea either, but
that would be Christmas, won't it? That
yeah, because there's it finishes in February, doesn't it?
Mm.
So yeah. Anyway, don't know if you've seen this yet. We're going to go with one of the new features. Unimaginative, I know, but there we go. Who's in the hot seat for you this week? We take a vote at the end, so it's basically whoever we vote on. So yeah, between the 3 of us.
So we voted.
I don't know. That's what I said. Yeah,
as advertised. As advertised, I didn't think about it.
I'm still blank.
So I've got one for you, and we were talking about it off air. I think we were talking about it, but Marco Silva, if he were to lose to Wolves, I wonder if one of those two doesn't come out of the game, as in Wolves manager or the Fulham manager,
especially if he goes out of the Carabao Cup tonight. That's an interesting one, isn't it?
I mean, I've got Fulham down to win that one, but either of those two, could they go?
Well, it's 90 plus 6 minutes, so it's about to go into penalties. And the rule of thumb that follows the Grimsby game, 22 consecutive scored penalties, and then their lead penalty taker misses.
That has got to penalties now.
Yeah. So yeah.
I don't. Well, if you lose, I don't think he goes at that point.
I think he probably gets the international break, right?
Yeah, I think he's really under a lot of pressure, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think the problem is with a team like managing Fulham. I think there's a life probably, like, let's be honest, I think it's hard, isn't it, for like Silva as such. Like, he come in and done such a good job, but their level, isn't it? And I think it's very hard to keep that team to that level, mid-table all the time. And I think once you have that little bit of a dip, it's quite hard to readjust it back up again. You know what I mean? Like, they're not prime time players in the transfer market or nothing like that. They spent some money, to be fair, but I don't know. I watched Fulham the other day, and even against Arsenal, I didn't really think much of them, if I'm being totally honest. It was more like we just kind of coasted, if I was being totally honest. So if he loses that game against Wolves and they don't win the penalty shootout tonight, yeah, there's got to be quite a bit of pressure there on him starting to mount up.
And Slot has got to get in the conversation, hasn't he? Because obviously 5 in a row in total, 4 in a row in the league.
I think he's got to go up to Christmas at least. I think.
Yeah, I mean,
Premier League in the bank, innit? Whether it was Klopp's team or not, you see that through. So for me, he has to be given to up till Christmas. But if it don't start turning around leading up to Christmas, then the noise will get louder and louder, won't it? And the problem he's got is that he's always going to be labelled then as like winning that title because of Klopp's team and Klopp's players. Where I just think the recruitment's been a bit madness at Liverpool, if I'm being totally honest. I don't think they really focused on the right players. And again, I think they put too much hope on Conor Bradley. And is he actually as good as they thought he was? Not really sure he is. And I just look at that defence, and I just think that is, even last year, Kanai should have been sent off at least 3-4 times. Van Dijk should have been given at least one or two red cards. Yeah,
he should have given a penalty away to us.
I think Alisson bails them out a lot of the time, if I'm being totally honest.
He's mad, isn't he? He's mad.
Loads.
But even VVD last year as well, he was outstanding as well, I think. But he got away with murder as well. But yeah, it's I think the drop off from VVD this year is insane as well.
I think it's right about Slot. He's under massive pressure there. I think he will turn it round. But I said pre-season, and someone told me I was a liar the other day, so I sent them a video. They never came back. Can't think why. I was questioning Liverpool's window, and I said I actually would have worried about them more had they not signed Isak, but had signed Mark Gehi and a CDM, because I just felt the side was unbalanced. They had fullbacks banging forward. No one really dropped and covered. Van Dijk was getting older. And there were too many attacking players, and I couldn't understand how it would all fit together. Now, I do think they will find a solution to that. And the irony is, when they played us, and I've said this before on this show as well, I actually thought they got the balance perfectly, but they haven't done it since. They haven't found that balance back. And, he's going to have to find it, but I think he can find it, and I think they will recover. Question is the damage been done too much at the moment? Or is he going to be too stubborn to try and change it back and go, no, I'm winning it my way? So he is under a lot of pressure, and the Liverpool fans are, not happy at the moment. You can understand why. They've lost 4 in a row.
But why did they wait till the last day with Mark Gray? Like they were getting him for 35 million. That's snipping any book, in my opinion. Like why didn't they get that? Why didn't they do what we did with Eze and just lay the money down 2 weeks before?
Yeah. Apparently, it was all agreed, but it wasn't. It wasn't ratified by Palace because they lost another player and they didn't want to lose him as well.
Palace wanted a replacement, didn't they?
Yeah, they want the replacement first, I think.
But you know, Gehi decided to stay because he didn't feel that Liverpool were really that interested in him as well. Interestingly, you know, I mean, I've got some good mates that are Palace fans, and they were saying they weren't worried about him going in the last few days of the window because everything they were hearing was that Gehi was going to stay because Liverpool weren't pushing enough. But whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I mean, you're exactly right. You know, why the hell did they leave it so late?
Well,
didn't
they?
$1 million just to get the deal done. Do you know what I mean? Get it done, get it in, get it over the line. Like, even if you pay 40 million for him, like he's a captain of his team. He's just won the FA Cup. Do you know what I mean? He's one of the most up and coming England players. He's been in the England squad. He played in the Euros last time round. Like, it was a no-brainer in my opinion, like an absolute no-brainer. And they flaffed around with it. Do you know what I mean? And they give Palace the option to keep him, in my opinion.
Yeah. They basically said, "We're not bothered. You keep him."
There is a time and a place for when you negotiate hard on deals, right? But as you're getting towards the end of the window, that window starts to shut rapidly. And when you're a week to go, and you know you're in a position then where you just have to pay the money. You know, we've seen Arsenal do it before, try and get the best deals. You know, in some ways it happened with Moreno, for instance. But ultimately there comes a point where you just go, "That's what I'm going to pay," or you go and walk away. And Liverpool kind of didn't really do either, did they? You know. And it is important to get good deals because of financial fair play and those sort of rules. But yeah, as you say,
apparently not. They can just spend whatever they want now.
Well, of course they brought in a lot of money and they haven't spent massively in recent years. But you know, as you say, the difference between 34 and 40 million for Mark Gehi when you're in a comfortable position from a financial fair play
perspective,
when you're spending 50 million quid, it just doesn't make any sense.
You know, and they and City, of course, have spent 100 million more in 2025 than Arsenal have. You know, which is often overlooked.
I find it strange that they went and brought out 2 out-and-out strikers as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I know that obviously the Jota situation absolutely threw them. Of course it did.
Yeah.
But I think, do you know what my personal feeling is? And I said this the other day, you might shoot me down for this one, but I think it'd been better going for someone like Ollie Watkins as a secondary striker. Do you know what I mean? Like, get someone in who'd actually probably wouldn't appreciate like sitting on the bench, coming on in games, having an impact, but you know he's Premier League proven. But then buying Ekitike and Isak caused a problem for Slot because actually they both expect to start. When you pay like 80, 90 million and another 100,
yeah, of course, yeah.
These 2 players are thinking when they're signing, I'm playing. I'm going to be playing for the club as the number 9, and they've got 2 players there that are basically competing with each other. And there's going to be one happy player. And in my opinion, at the moment, he's actually be on the bench. Like he hasn't proved himself there. Yeah. But I just sat there and thought maybe Ollie Watkins might have been a better option at the time. Do you know what I mean?
I agree with you. I mean, I was saying earlier about how you need players like Moreno, right, who understand their place in the squad. You know, and you're exactly right. They both want to start. I can't imagine that's helping them in the dressing room. And you're right about Ollie Watkins. He probably would go to Liverpool to be a backup because he'd get plenty of minutes still because of the amount of games they're playing, but would go and win some trophies that he hasn't won yet. So I think he would have given that some serious consideration. And we know Villa needed the money. So, you know, I agree with you entirely. I described their transfer window the other day, or in the summer, as sexy. It was a sexy window, but I think a better description of it is it's a FIFA window, the old computer game, isn't it? Where you go and buy those players because on FIFA you can get away with it because you're controlling them all and it doesn't really matter and tactics don't overly matter. But it's that window, not a proper window. It wasn't a well constructed window. I said it at the time, and everyone was laughing at me, but they're not laughing now.
No. It was very much like it's like a blank check window, isn't it? Just go out and buy who you want. Like you said, it was like a FIFA window in terms of they were just going out buying player after player after player. But I don't think it was well considered and well thought of actually what players do we actually need that's going to actually strengthen Liverpool. And for me, when you look at it, I look at the right back, I look at the centre backs, And I see that it's very fun. They're very vulnerable now, in my opinion, as proven the other day against Brentford. And they're getting exploited because actually teams know now. And this is the piece I don't really get with Slot, that he's fundamentally going out there going, teams are doing us because they're playing the ball in the air. Well, why are you saying that? Because now
because that's all they're going to do, isn't it?
Every team's going to go to you now and do the same thing. They're going to chuck throw-ins in and everything.
Yeah.
And you're admitting that your team's vulnerable and they can't manage it.
I mean, don't get me wrong, with all the data and stuff and all the sort of analysts going on, they probably already knew it, but way to put it in your players' minds as well.
Well, that doesn't help, does it?
A way to give a confidence boost to the other side. But it really, it was as you say, a kid in a sweet shop window, wasn't it? It really was. And the second they came out of that window, I mean, I'd already picked Arsenal to win the league, but the second they came out the window without a centre back and/or defensive midfielder, I became more confident that we could win the league.
But also, I don't think Frimpong's a right back at all.
No.
I think he's ultimately a replacement for Salah. So when Salah's playing, they've just pigeonholed him into anywhere. Kirkes has been terrible. Easily got at, no protection for him whatsoever.
They'd work better if they got into Manchester United, system-wise. Probably,
but I think the biggest failure for me is as soon as what happened with Jota. I think that they should have renewed Diaz, whatever he wanted.
Yeah, you said it the other week, and I think you're spot on. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think they recover it. I do think they will turn this around. They're not going to be this bad forever, but
they're not going to recover the league, though. No, they're not going to.
Well, exactly, and also
they're going to recover something, but they're not going to. They're all right. They might get back in the title race, right? But they had a 5-point lead. They were well ahead. They were well on course, and he changed system for reasons only known to him. It's just quite mad. I just don't. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I look at fixtures and I look at the games you lose and I think, do you know what I mean? So I look at their fixtures, right? And I think they've lost to Crystal Palace, which, just be honest, is an hard game for everyone. But
yeah, of course,
if you don't win a title, you don't lose at Selhurst Park. They've lost at Brentford. You certainly don't lose at Brentford. Do you know what I mean? And I look at the games, and I think you still got your hardest games. You still got to go to Manchester City. You still got
Villa.
They got them at Man City the week after next.
Yeah.
The only difficult away game they've had is Newcastle, right?
Yeah. So they still got to go. Like you said, like they lost to Manchester United at home. It weren't like they lost to Man United at Old Trafford and they got a home game. They're losing games that they shouldn't be losing whatsoever. So I look at it and I think, do you know what? You're still going to throw probably at least 9, 12, 15 points away over the course of the season. I think that's a big gap to catch up on. And the other thing, the only thing I would probably agree with Gary Neville about, by the way, right, and probably the only thing, and he was right at the time, when we were scoring all them last-minute goals, he was talking about emotion. And it is true. Do you know what I mean? You can only keep doing that for a while, and it's a lot of emotion when you do that. And that's why they started the season. Last-minute goal, last-minute goal, last-minute goal, last-minute goal. That's not sustainable. That is not sustainable to maintain a lead or win a league. And it was apparent in the first 3 or 4 games that actually there was a lot of flaws in their team. And it's been exposed. So I think that actually at the moment, if I was going to say who's more our challengers, I'd probably say Manchester City. But with that, if Haaland gets injured, then they're in trouble as well.
I said that I felt City, and my lad's a City supporter. So I've watched a lot of City games with him, and I felt that they're missing something in midfield, but I can't quite put my finger on it. And defensively, I don't quite trust them. And I think, to quote Sir Alex Ferguson, defenses win your championship, but attacks win your games. And I think their defense isn't quite there for me this season. I think next season they're going to be massive challengers, City. But this season, I think they're just a little bit short. But we'll see what happens. But right now, all things are pointing to Arsenal. But Arsenal will also have a blip at some point.
Yeah, it just amazes me that they get completely under the radar. They spent 450 million quid themselves, and nobody's putting any pressure on them at all either. It's just a bit.
City or Liverpool?
Yeah, City. I don't. Yeah.
They both City and Liverpool have spent around £100 million more than us in 2025.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a bit 4-4 on penalties at the minute.
It's amazing. I think they've both missed penalties, and
I've only got the update on the score, so I don't know who's taken what.
Me too, but I thought my screen hadn't refreshed, and I've just refreshed it because it hadn't updated for about 3 or 4 minutes. But I think you might be right there that would explain why it's not updated. If it's because I've only got the score.
Yeah.
Oh, they've just missed Wickham, so Fulham's winning now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So are we going up? Are we going with Silva? We're going with Silva as the most under pressure this
I
at this moment in time.
I put the two of them as in the two managers in that game, the Wolves manager as well.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
I forgot that was a question.
Well, it's supposed to be a springboard to open discussion, but there we go. Next one. Most valuable player of the week, or manager, or whatever, really. Yeah, that's finished 5-4.
Yeah,
Win
there, didn't they?
Yes.
I think this week. I think obviously the Man. Is it? Remember the
Mbeumo.
Yeah, the Man United player. Thought he looked good on Saturday. That was a big win for them. They needed to see that one through. So I thought I'm going to go with him this week.
Yeah, that was a very close game. That I know United won it, but that was a big win. You know, I fancy Brighton. I spoke about them a lot last week. I think Brighton are a good side. That was a huge win for United. You know, it was 3 in a row. It was a close game. I know they won it 4-2, but it was a lot closer than 4-2. But I thought they showed real maturity and mentality as well in that game.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to go through periods again where they're going to struggle again. You know, they've got a lot of issues there, but you know, they have turned a bit of a corner, to be fair to them, and that was a big win. I'd actually argue that was their biggest win of the 3. I know they won at Anfield, but that for me was the one that sort of impressed me the most in many ways at the weekend.
Yeah, they've got Forest and Spurs, haven't they, next for the haircut. So,
yes. Do you know what? I predicted them boldly at the start of the season that they could finish in the top 5.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they can, if I'm being totally honest. But with no Carabao Cup football now and no European football, all they've got to worry about is Premiership weekends, isn't they?
Yeah.
So they can keep their players fresh. I think if they can get another couple of decent results, it will just obviously boost confidence, won't it, within their camp. I think, obviously, do you know what? I don't mind the manager, to be fair. I don't mind him. I think it's a really, really tough club to manage with everything that's going on in the background. Like obviously, the stadium's not in the best condition anymore. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, but I think he's riding through the tough storm, a bit like Arteta did.
I was just going to make that exact point.
Yeah, it's very similar, isn't it? It's like he's had to weather the tough results, and he did say that. In fairness to him, he said that we're going to have downside before we have upside. So yeah, I mean,
the similarity for me comes from the fact that he's got a clear vision for how he wants them to play, a clear identity, and he's starting to try and
that in a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, well, even then, I think it's sort of in-game, but that's actually very much how he played at Sporting, which was the system still the same. What the players are starting to do is actually deliver it slightly better. But he's starting to buy players that are going to sort of fit the way he wants to play. Now, everyone's going over summer. They should have bought a CDM. They should have bought a goalkeeper. Well, yes, but then if they bought them and hadn't bought a couple of attacking players, the attack's like they're in a position where they need 2 or 3 windows. They need the famous Arteta phasers, right? Because they can't fix everything in one go. It's going to be a process. It's why they're renewing players that they like Casemiro, but like Harry Maguire, that he probably should be looking to let go. But they're also players that can see him through another year or 2 because they recognise it's going to be 3 or 4 years. But there's a clear vision, a clear strategy, and a clear identity, and that for me, as a Manchester United fan, would boost my faith that they can come out of this. As an Arsenal fan, I want it to implode massively, of course. But I can see that, and it's why I always backed Arteta all the way through, because I could see what was going on, and I could see everything was fitting into that. And I think the same at Manchester United.
It's quite interesting now, isn't it? That actually, I was talking to a United fan about a month ago, and he was talking about it could be his last game at the time, and that's just how fickle football is at times.
It's how quick things change, isn't it? It's just mad.
Couple of wins, mate, changes confidence. Like you said, they brought really well this summer. And do you know what the biggest issue I have with Manchester United is that over the last few years, they've always gone and brought that expensive player who's coming into the twilight of his career. Look, Casemiro, for example, I don't believe he's been a good signing for whatever reason, but I totally agree that at the moment they need to keep them couple of players to get them through this season. Harry Maguire, do you know what I mean? He could have easily gone 2 years ago. He could have gone to probably Everton, West Ham, that kind of club. But he has an impact still in that team, and he had an impact the other week against Liverpool. I just think that give him another 2 summers, and I think Manchester United will be in a much different situation, and I think they will be competing where they need to be competing at the top end of the table. I just think that they need to kind of continue to ride out a storm, and they're going to get some shocking results still. They will get them naturally because that's the process. We got them. Do you know what I mean? But we was lucky. I'll tell you what we was really lucky about was getting William Saliba in when we did, and they had him out on loan. That was, for me, the game changer. Once we brought him back in with Gabriel, that was the start of the big reboot with Arteta.
And we haven't had it easy either because Gabriel, he had his head turned apparently by Saudi. It was only a couple of years ago, and he didn't start the season because Arteta said, "Well, either commit, mate, or you ain't playing." It's simple as that.
But that's how it should be.
Yeah,
for me, that's how it should be. Like if you're getting your head turned, you ain't playing in my team till you tell me you're committed.
Because they actually asked him, didn't they? And basically said, "What gets him back in the team? Commit to us, and then he plays. It's as simple as that. Happy days."
But making them statements, do you know what I mean? Managing Ozil out, managing Aubameyang out, doing that. That's what makes them statements. And I always go back to that All or Nothing documentary when you hear Rob Holding sitting there going, or sitting down at the table going about Aubameyang, weren't it? The boss weren't happy. Do you know what I mean? Fair play to him. Like, that is what you want. You want players being disciplined, because if they don't, they'll just run all over you. And we've seen it. We've seen it in our club. What happens when players think they can run the team? And I honestly, I think the job that Arteta's done, when I think about what he took over, and he took that over in terms of that, but it was everything to do with COVID, everything like that. I think the job that he switched that round and where we are now, I think it's incredible. Look, I get frustrated at times with him. I think there's certain things.
Yeah, we all do, yeah.
But when you look at it overall, we was a nothing team back in 2019. We was getting the piss taken out of us. I even go back to that League Cup in 2018. Gary Neville sat in that stadium, absolutely mocking us from start to finish when we got 3-0 by Man City.
And I can't blame him for it because we were a mess.
Yeah, but that won't happen no more, because actually we're the best run team in the Premier League now. We got the best squad in the Premier League. I never see that in 2020. If you said to me in 2025 you're going to have the best squad in the Premier League, I would have laughed at you, because I looked at that Super Manchester City team and I'm thinking it's going to take us at least 8 to 10 years to get above them, or in terms of like squad and everything. And they've done it in 5 years. So fair play to him. And let's be honest, he's had money. Don't get me wrong, he's had money, but they've signed really, really correctly, and they have fallen down last year, I think. And I think Edu let himself down and the club down last year. But I think since Andreas Berta's come in, I think they've stepped up again, haven't they? Like, the signings we've brought in are just absolute worldies, in my opinion. And I didn't see us doing out this summer how it panned out. I think it's unbelievable what they've done this summer.
I agree with you, literally 99%. I think, generally speaking, we've got the right signings. You know, we've seen signings that come in and have gone because we've gone past them, but you have to buy those players that sort of take you to the next level, but aren't the level you quite need. And then you have to have some signings, for me, that you're taking risks on. Nuno Tavares, it was a prime example where it was a fit for how we were playing at the time, but it was a gamble. Martinelli was a gamble. You know, some will work, some won't work, but you're getting squad players. You know, who was going to come in to be the backup to Tierney when we're 8th in the Premier League? You're not going to get a player come in like Calafiori that's going to come in, or, you know, on the other side, a Yuri and Timber is going to come in when you're at that level. So you have to sort of do it incrementally. So I've always felt that was fine. Last year was obviously a disappointment. I think there were mitigating circumstances. The only bit I disagree with you on, and I agree with you in the terms of the outcome, that last summer obviously wasn't great, although January is the one that annoys me more. However, the club were actually quite honest with us, if we chose to see it, which was they basically said it's going to be a floor raiser rather than a ceiling raiser window because the money isn't there. And I think that did impact it. And I think the club was also not prepared to sign players that it didn't want, and was prepared to wait for the Martin Zubimendi being the obvious one there. So I think we that while you're right on the outcome, I think I look at that context as well and go, I don't think he let himself down, because I don't think that money was there. And I'm going to sort of blow my own trumpet here. I did some rough calculations because I love maths, like really love maths. And so I did some rough calculations on roughly where we were. And obviously, in American sports, you can see it all, but in UK sports, you can't. And I worked out we probably had about £50 million to spend in the January transfer window. And Ornstein came out and said we had about 45 to 55 million pounds. I was like, oh, get in, because you know, you take a little bit of a better gamble there because you haven't got the numbers. But I think that probably did impact, and then we only had that then because we gone through the Champions League and some Champions League money come in. So I think that's the only bit I slightly disagree with you on. But the outcome, you're right.
Do you think with that then, right, because that's fair enough quote there, to be fair. Do you think that actually the club were foreseeing someone to take into his role this year, or do you think it was just obviously coincidental that obviously Forrest come in? Because obviously the guy that we've got come in is obviously, in my opinion, in his position, he's world class, isn't he? Let's be honest, he's world class.
He's an upgrade on Edu, no question. I think Edu did a good job overall, but I think Berta's an upgrade. I think, and I'm doing this from memory, but I think it came as a massive shock to everyone at Arsenal when Edu went. So I don't think it would. I think it was a coincidence. But we spent considerable money. It was a 3-year rollover period. We hadn't generated transfer money through window, and we had 2 years, not 3 years of Champions League money. And I think all of that basically led us to the point where we didn't have much money. And when you look at Newcastle, you look at Villa, you look at those sort of sides that sort of get into the Champions League, then out, the hokey cokey style, they have windows where they can't spend either because they haven't got the consistent money. So I think it was a coincidence, because I think it was a genuine shock to Arsenal when Edu left.
Yeah, I think it's one of them that I think we'll look at in your later years and think, do you know what, it was probably... it was a surprise, obviously, when it happened. Of course, it was a surprise, but I think it was a blessing in disguise, if I'm being totally honest.
I think so.
I don't think it was a surprise at all. I think it was. I think he was fired.
Do you?
Mm-hmm. I said it as soon as it happened. I think he was fired.
Do you think that it was? They probably see that they had this guy that they think could take us to the next level, and Edu was not.
I think they've looked at the wage bill and then they've gone, right, who can we get money for? And then they've seen that they can't get money for players, and they're on too much money, and there's no sell-on value. The layout, even if you look on transfer marks for Vieira, for example. We paid 5 million over the odds for him, and now you can't sell him for peanuts.
Vieira's the obvious one where
he's not the only one though. You got Lokonga, Tavares, Vieira.
I think you're right. Vieira is obviously the one there that really jumps out on the page. I was always a bit worried about his signing. Lokonga was relatively expensive, became very highly rated, and Tavares was just a gamble. We got our money back, but I think Arsenal have got a problem still with their ability to sell. It's got slightly better in recent years, but I also think that you will see, and Manchester United I think will do this, they will overpay for players on wage and stuff to try and attract them there, because I think you kind of have to do that when you're in that position, because there are so many attractive options, and the inevitable consequences, they're harder to sell, particularly with European sides doing. Don't have the money that Premier League sides do. So it is much harder to sell. But Arsenal definitely need to improve, because you can see City sell, Liverpool sell much better than us. And not just them, you can name other sides that do it. So I think the selling side was where Eddie let himself down. But also, I think his going and, as you rightly say, being upgraded, and it is a massive upgrade to Berta, is symbolic of where we've gone as a club. And I think we had gone past what Edu could then do. We were at the point where Edu had taken us as far as he could go, and it needed someone better than him to come in. And I think that's what Arsenal did. Whether he was fired or not, I don't know. Maybe Arsenal were lying about it was a surprise, and maybe they did know.
I mean, the guy is high up on the sheet anyway, isn't he? It's not as if he's he's not working in the canteen, so it doesn't make a difference. So they just go, oh, well, I fired somebody from the canteen. You can't fire somebody in your boardroom and then come out saying I fired somebody in my boardroom.
No, you can't.
Because you're going to hinder them getting a job somewhere else.
Well, you also hinder people coming in as well.
Yeah. So if they turn around to him and gone, right, look for another job, mate, and let us know when you find something. We're not going to force you to do it quickly, but you've got until X, Y, Z to do it, and we're replacing you from there.
Yeah, I think that there's no smoke without fire. Do you know what I mean? There is no smoke without fire, in my opinion. I think Arsenal did know who they wanted deep down. I think they wouldn't go into a period like that and not know who they wanted. I just really, really shocked that this guy's come in and how he's transformed his squad in one summer. And obviously you've got to be, like you said, you've got the backing, you've got to be able to make the signings, within fair play and all that kind of stuff. But the way he's operated in terms of getting these players in and when he got these players in, even when you look at the Eze signing, the way he did that, the way he impacted, the way they lured Spurs in to think they'll get him, they know what they're doing. That was as big as anything, because obviously they
did it for PR win, didn't they?
You know what I mean? They knew exactly how they're doing it, because when we brought Madawaki in, everyone was kicking off. They've gone and brought him instead of Eze. They don't know what they're doing and all that. But
I took a lot of flack for that one and all.
Yeah, they got a lot of flack, but he stuck with the process. Do you know what I mean? Of what he was going to do in that summer, and he pretty much delivered right to that last day. And even the way he's got Hincapié in, on the a loan.
He's done a David Raya, hasn't he?
It's a David Raya signing. That signing will conclude next year.
Yeah, it's not even on the books until next year.
And to be fair to Edu, he did have the Subamendi deal set up, didn't he? So, he did do good stuff. Not dismissing what he did for the club, because he did push us into the right direction. I just think that actually him going is now a massive blessing in disguise, and it's actually taken us to the next level.
So where Neville basically said Arteta is, top 4 quality, whatever. I think Edu was that.
I think so.
He wasn't the guy to get the superstar or the next level or do that. That get the next big thing. I think Mosquera's proof of that.
Berta was what they thought Rolls-Nelly would be in 2019.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think Edu had taken, as I said a few minutes ago, Edu had taken as far as he could go. And what you're exactly right as well, that what Berta has done is incredible. Yes, he's had the backing. Yes, he's been set up for success because Arsenal were a big draw, going in the right direction. A manager that players clearly believe in. It's why they're signing his contract. But he still has to deliver, and he has done that.
Yeah. And
he hasn't done it until arms are up in the air.
Well, he's done his part, right, which is deliver the players and get the big.
Berta has, obviously his, his tenure is not going to be decided in one window anyway.
No.
But I do think Edu had Zubimendi sealed. Because I think the Marino facilitated that a little bit as well, because they are best mates. So I think that when they took Marino, it was a bit of greasing the wheels, if you like. We'll take him. They actually tried to get both in the same window, and Sociedad said no. So we took him first, and it is what it is. So obviously people don't necessarily rate Marino, but
you're not going to get much stronger though. Going to sit on the bench though, are you?
It's what we were saying earlier.
That's what I'm saying. As a utility player, who are you getting that's better at it than that?
You're not. Let's be honest. There ain't such thing as I'm not just going to mention a name out of nowhere, but can you imagine if you went and brought like, I don't know, Jude Bellingham? Like, him or Rice ain't going to sit on the bench. You're not going to be happy about sitting on the bench. You know what I mean?
No, not a chance.
Guy, he's at an age where he's seen it all, been around the block a little bit. You know what I mean? He's got a lot of experience, and he'll do a job, and that's what he does. He does a job, and he impacts in the games. I don't want him starting games in midfield, but do you know what? In games like tomorrow, in games like Slavia Prague, I don't mind him playing them games. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when it's the big games, I want to see him come on the pitch if needed. But that's where it sits with me.
You're exactly right.
As a utility, yeah.
I had someone say to me that I was an idiot for saying that, Moreno has his place in the squad. We should have gone out and brought Bruno Guimaraes to sit on the bench and play 10 games.
He's not going to do that either.
He's not going to do it. Like, they want to play. Like, you have to find a player. You basically go for someone like Moreno who's happy to do it, or you go for someone like Jorginho who's come towards the end of the career and go, that's where I'm at, or you have a youngster that goes, actually, slightly
trying to bring through.
Even Wanyeri, for instance, he knows he's not starting every week. Mac Dalman knows they're not starting every week because they're learning the game. They're your three options.
Yeah.
You're not getting. I said to them, I said, tell me a side that has two world-class players, and I mean world-class or just below world-class in every position. There's loads of them. Brilliant. Name one.
Right.
It doesn't exist. It's not FIFA. It's not Football Manager. What
I do love about our recruitment nowadays is, right, this would be the one for next season, right? Ben White. I think Ben White goes at the end of the season. He has to.
I do too.
Do you know what I mean? Be gutted about it, but he has to go. But what Arsenal will do is now, and this is where it's changed the stance, they'll look at someone, right, that's going to compete with Timber to be better than Timber. Whether there is someone out there at the moment, but that's how they're thinking now. Do you know what I mean? If our secondary player goes, we're looking at getting someone in who's going to compete and play as a right back or a left back, what it is. They're not looking for someone to sit on the bench. They're looking for the best thing to then go in front of that. But we've seen it.
Mascara proves that.
David Raya, we've got Aaron Ramsdale. Do you know what I mean? That proved that. Do you know what I mean? And that's the model to go down now. Do you know what I mean? Like,
the thing is as well with the selling and everything as well. We need to be selling players before they're out of rack and ruin, and we can actually get some money for them. So you can't wait until they're 34 anymore.
Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, still our record transfer fee.
Ridiculous, really.
It's amazing, isn't it?
And
not in a good way.
Yeah,
it's disastrous when you think about it.
We're sold Henry and Fabregas.
Percy, Alex Sanchez.
And then you look at Liverpool and they got 135 million for Coutinho.
Who do you think would be the player to break that? Do you think it'd be Saliba?
I think Saliba will go at some point, but obviously not quite yet. No. I wonder if Martinelli might still be sold this summer.
Yeah.
And I think if he continues the season, he's had in the last 4 or 5 weeks, then he's probably not going. But he's a hot and cold player, right? He'll do well. He'll go. Yeah. But there's a 60.
Trossard to go first, surely.
I wonder if both might go this summer. Funny enough, but Martinelli could be a 60-70 million pound winger. If you look at the summer, Elanga, Madueke, I can't remember who the other one, Kudos, all went in that 50-55 million pound range.
Gittins.
Unbelievably. I was fine with signing Gittins, but not at that price. Is in if Arsenal had gone for it.
And obviously Madueke.
Yeah. Madueke, my issue with Madueke, and I said it at the time, I thought he was a good player. I thought he could play on both flanks. I had no problem with him a player. It was the opportunity cost. I always felt that we were going to be able to get an Eze in. I was quite consistent on that. The issue was if suddenly a player like Rodrigo comes available, but it was highly unlikely. And I think Arsenal, and again, I said it at the time, Arsenal was sensible to go for Madueke when they went with him because they could get someone in that was of the right level rather than hoping that someone's going to come available. It's why they didn't go after Isak. Apart from the fact that they knew financially that was 2 players, it was Isak or 2 players. I think that was part of it. But also, at the time, it was highly uncertain whether he was leaving Newcastle or not. It wasn't until much later in the window that he moved. And Arsenal weren't prepared to wait on players that might be available if they had options available. And, again, credit to Bertie. You said it earlier. He executed his strategy perfectly.
You a fan of Madueke?
I think Madueke is he's a fine player. Does he start over Saka for me? No, but I think he's a very decent backup for.
But that's
for
what
him.
it's supposed to be, isn't it?
But that's what he was brought in for. Yeah. I think he's had a decent start. Obviously, the goals and assists are missing, but when you look at him, he's creating chances. And actually on it very easily could have had 2 or 3 assists this season. Had we put the ball in the box. I wasn't bothered that he came from Chelsea. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, it don't bother me that whatsoever, to be fair. To be fair, right, when I look at Chelsea, what we was doing 5-6 years ago to what we're doing now, we're getting their players that are 23, 24 years old. I've got no issue about that if they're good enough to be in the squad. It was like when we was buying 33, 34-year-olds, or maybe not that old, but maybe exaggerating a little bit. But when we were buying them players,
Jorginho wasn't much less, was he? He was 32.
But
he was a
true
signing.
Yeah. But it's obviously, it's
yeah.
We're not in a
position. You wouldn't be making that signing now.
Oh no, not now. Right this moment in time, we've gone over that.
We kind of did with Norgard in some ways, but that's with a purpose. But before that, we're not signing the likes of Willian anymore, or William Gallas, or David Luiz. But that's kind of the narrative. Kai Havertz gets a lot of hate. I don't understand it. I had someone tell me the other day he's a League 2 player. I was like, are you serious? Like Kai Havertz, you might not like him, but his average is 1 in 2 as a Premier League striker when he's played number 9 for us. That's not bad. I agree that we should be looking for competition and to upgrade him, which arguably we did in Gyökeres, albeit I think a different style rather than a upgrade. But that's been a good signing. Probably slightly overpaid, but that's by the by. Jorginho, good signing. Madueke, I think, looks a really promising signing. Kepa, brilliant signing as a backup goalkeeper at that price. The price is
some keepers number 1. Some teams number 1 in the.
We probably got the second best goalkeeper.
Oh, without question.
It's interesting to say that about Havertz. I don't know if you see a stat that actually when he played in midfield, his shooting targets accuracy was like 25%. From going from attacking midfield to up front went up by another 25%. So he was shooting accuracy was around 50%. So it just shows you. I from the very first game that I see Kai Havertz play for us in that Charity Shield against Man City, I preferred him up top. Because I think he gives us something totally different. That's why I'm quite excited to see what happens in games when him and Gyökeres are on the pitch, because I think he will push right up alongside him at times. But
I know Sparks thinks that, and it'll be interesting in his view as well. But I think his best position is as a second striker. It's where he was most effective for Leverkusen. I think it would be really exciting.
Yeah, shadow striker. He's a centre forward, isn't he? He's not a striker. He's a centre forward.
Yeah.
So and people think it's the same thing. It's just not.
And we do miss his press at times massively in games.
And his aerial ability, his hold up play, all that, and you're kind of relying on Gyökeres to do that at the moment, and he's not that guy.
I think he's improved massively in that area.
He has improved, but he wants the ball played through to him.
Yeah.
So you get a guy that can bring it down for him and actually play it through. Then, in fact, Havertz or Ødegaard, even Waneri, could suit him really well. I think Waneri probably needs a bit more of a shot, to be honest. But
it's exciting times.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of pressure on at the moment, and I think that once we actually win something, I think that when that pressure's released, he'll rely on them a bit more.
Yeah, I totally agree. We just got to get over the line. That's why Skelly is not playing in the team, and that's nothing against him because he's a fabulous talent. You know what I mean? But
it's just a reliable head. Just reliable.
He will cost you points.
Yeah,
he will. Not being harsh, but it will cost you goals as well.
Even the sending off.
He does that ball in the last minute against Palace. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They're the little things, right, that Arteta can't afford this year because he had to get over the line. So
he's an 18, 19-year-old kid who's going to make mistakes. Waneri saying, these guys are going to play less, but with Miles Lewis-Skelly, fantastic last year, no question about it. But he is going to make mistakes at times. And Calafiori's in great form. That's why he's not playing. Calafiori drops off. Miles Lewis-Skelly will come in and get his chance. These guys will play. I agree with you. But right now, it's keep the momentum going. And that means they have got to wait a little bit longer. But they're young lads.
He's
still.
trusted him in the Champions League, though, to be fair, don't it? Skelly, giving him the opportunities in the Champions League.
Yeah.
Well, there's a stat last year that he was the only player to have played something like over 90 minutes or something like that across the course of the Champions League. The only fullback to have not been dribbled past once. And yet he played almost every game in the Champions League. It played Real Madrid, played Paris Saint-Germain.
Wow.
I can't quite remember how many minutes they had to play, but it wasn't a massive amount. It might have been like 180 minutes or something like. But for fullbacks that played over that, whatever relatively low number it was, he was the only one. He was an 18-year-old kid.
Unbelievable talent.
Yeah,
he is, and he'll get to prove it as we go through. But I just think he's under so much pressure at the moment. It's not like Pep, where he's got credit in the bank and whatever, and he can go a couple of seasons without winning anything. Well, as far as we're concerned, I mean, I don't know what his board is like, but
I think that's where their board's at. To be honest, I think they understand that he's rebuilding that squad again. And history shows that's what you need to do sometimes. Ferguson had that as well. Who for me is the greatest manager in Premier League history still.
Yeah, still is. Yeah. Yeah, I do think Wenger kind of he basically throttled himself a little bit just by being so frugal, and then basically the board took the mick out of it. They basically went, well, okay, well, if you can do that, then keep doing it, and we'll keep writing the checks to ourselves.
I think that's right. I think it was obviously led slightly by a need to be frugal, but I think you're exactly right. It went a bit too far, and the board were quite happy with it as a result. But I also think the other thing with Wenger, who obviously will, forever be one of my favourite, if not my favourite manager, but you never know what the future brings because of what he did. But I think he was also done by ideology, which was, I'm going to play this way regardless. Yeah. And it's one of the ththings I've really criticised Ange Postecoglou at Tottenham for, which was you're just not adapting the way you're playing. Yeah, at all. And I think that
until you play Europa, it's mad. It's like it's who we are until we get to Europa, and then I'll play a completely different way. It just beggars belief, really. You're like, if you'd actually just adapted in the league like that, you'd still have a job.
Twice.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I'm not sure about Forest because
it was a stupid hire.
He was set up to fail anyway because he's completely opposite to what Nuno was anyway.
If they'd hired him in June, you could fair enough. But hiring when the season started was, as you say, setting up to fail.
Yeah, absolute disaster.
I don't think you can hold it against him what happened at Forest. I think that's on the board rather than on.
I don't. I think he's stupid for taking the job. But if somebody offers you whatever it is, like £5 million for example, and for 4 weeks work, imagine somebody offering you £5 million for 4 weeks work.
To be honest, they can. I'll work 2 years for £5 million.
Yeah. By the way, mate, you can't work for another year. Oh
no!
Happy days. Oh, he is £5 million, by the way. Bye. Yeah. Don't think I'd have a problem with that, to be honest with you. Yeah.
No wonder he looked so happy driving out after he was sacked.
Yeah, I mean, I bet it was very uncomfortable in that boardroom anyway, and so even in the changing room, wherever they have the conversations.
In the tunnel, reportedly.
Yeah, well, when he disappeared on 60 Minutes, I think we all knew where he was going.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, just type this up.
Well,
tell somebody else type it.
75-word statement or something, wasn't it? It kind of taken long.
That's all it was. Yeah, pre-prepared, definitely. Anyway, we're going to call it there. Thank you very much, Liam. Thanks for coming on, sir.
Thank you very much once again. Cheers.
Yeah, and Dom, thanks for coming on, sir.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me as always, and nice to meet you as well, Liam.
Yeah, you too, mate.
Have you not met Liam before? Sorry, I had to introduce you if I'd known that. I thought you met him on the last show. Sorry. Very rude of me. But there you go. That's me. Anyway, but yeah, I just got memory like a sieve. There you go.
Memory like a Liverpool defence.
Well, yeah, long may that continue as well, by the way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. I'll put the other two channels in the comments section below, so please make sure you're following those channels as well. And we'll see you next time. And yeah, this has been Footy Corner Prem Review. We'll see you next time. Good night.